If you think about social networks as people, LinkedIn is TikTok's dorky, older, more professional sister that the younger, more hip sister needs to borrow money from. At least that's how Kathleen Celmins sees it. And she's very effective at selling on LinkedIn. In fact, she says that if you're just trying to grow your follower count on LinkedIn, you're wasting your time. Instead, it's all about connections. And how do you convert those connections into clients? That's what we get into during this interview. Plus, in the Pro Show, we talk about the dangers of creating a tool that relies on social media or someone else's platform. Look for these top takeaways. While every other social network is super content heavy, LinkedIn is different. If you post more than once a day, you're competing with yourself on LinkedIn. Followers on LinkedIn are a vanity metric. Your goal is to fill your calendar with calls. So creating connections and seeing if those connections are a good fit should be your goal. In fact, this very point is what pushed me to finally hire somebody to help me do sales on LinkedIn. Finally, your profile is your sales page. Optimize your LinkedIn profile page for your offer and your niche and start connecting with people. That's how you will know if you are reaching the correct audience and if your offer is good. This episode is action-packed with lots of great stuff, including a ton of actionable advice at the end for how to optimize your profile. So definitely listen for that. I met Kathleen at Craft and Commerce this year, and I'm so excited I did because she is a wealth of information and very generous with it. She also has a free offer for you at the end. I will link to that and everything we talked about in the show notes over at howibuilt.it/329. howibuilt.it/329. If you want to get this and every episode ad-free and extended, be sure to sign up for the membership, which you can do again over at howibuilt.it/329. Or if you are listening in Apple Podcasts, this is now an Apple Podcast subscription, so you can sign up right from the Apple Podcasts app. All right, now without further ado, let's get into the intro and then the interview. Hey everybody, and welcome to How I Built It, the podcast that helps busy solopreneurs and creators grow their business without spending too much time on it. I'm your host, Joe Casabona, and each week I bring you interviews and case studies on how to build a better business through smarter processes, time management, and effective content creation. It's like getting free coaching calls from successful solopreneurs. By the end of each episode, you'll have 1 to 3 takeaways you can implement today to stop spending time in your business and more time on your business or with your friends, your family, reading, or however you choose to spend your free time. All right, I am here with Kathleen Celmins. Kathleen, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Joe, how are you?
I am fantastic. Excited to be talking to you. We met at Craft and Commerce, which if people remember last year, I had a bunch of guests that I met at Craft and Commerce last year. So it's just like a wealth of amazing information. And we're going to talk about LinkedIn today. So let's just dive right into this, right? Why should I be on LinkedIn?
Well, I'll clarify because not everybody needs to be on LinkedIn. But if you're selling B2B and you're not on LinkedIn, you have unconsciously made a decision to make getting leads harder for you.
If you're selling B2B, you've consciously made a decision to make getting leads harder for you. I like that a lot, right? Because like on Twitter, right, we've got the thread boys, as he says, which is like my most favorite term ever. And now as we record this, like Threads had just come out and like that's like...
speaking of thread boys.
Speaking of thread boys, yeah, exactly.
They made it a whole thing.
Yeah, it's just its own thing now. And like, I like that, right? I like Threads. I don't feel like I'm beholden to an algorithm, but there's like TikTok and you got to do Instagram marketing. And I feel like LinkedIn is like maybe the forgotten child of social media because like a lot of people just still think it's like a resume site, but it's not, right?
Right. I think, what's funny is like if I were a little bit more creative, I could come up with really good like visuals for what LinkedIn is, because LinkedIn is definitely like the dorky older sister that is such a stuffed shirt. Like TikTok's like the young hip dancing on the bar. We're doing shots. Like and then
Coyote Ugly style.
And then LinkedIn walks into the bar like still wearing their suit. Like I am letting loose. My tie is not on. Like this is fun. But like the truth is the hip younger sibling has to borrow money from the dorky older sister because the dorky older sister has it figured out.
Yes, I love that. Right, this is like when everybody like. I had a few guests last year. Right, TikTok, even though it's been around since 2016. Like blew up right before or during the pandemic, something, pandemic time is weird to me. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, if you have a business, you've got to be on TikTok. I'm like, really? Because it feels like nobody on TikTok can afford me. Like that's what I'm not selling like a $19 thing, right?
Right.
Like Miss Excel, right? Like blew up on TikTok, but she had a pretty affordable course, I think. Mm-hmm. Right. So I really like that. The hip younger sister needs to borrow money from the older uptight. Because you get like all of the other social media, and I don't because of when we're recording this, we have no idea what Threads is going to be. So I'll leave that out of the conversation. Yeah. But all of the other ones are so content heavy. They're so content heavy. If you looked up right now, if you Googled how to make an impact on Instagram, you would get something like, okay, you need 3 in-post story, not stories, in-post in-feed posts. In-feed posts, there we go, yeah.
Every day. You need 10 stories every day. You need at least 1 reel. And you know what? You might as well go live with another creator. It's like, well, when are you supposed to do any of your work? Because that's all like the authority building content too, like answering questions that maybe you answered one-on-one. Showing people in your network that you know what you're talking about, and then hoping that they reach out to you with an open wallet. And they will, some do, down the line. But that's a huge commitment. That's like at least an hour, if not 3, every single day, coming up with fresh content. And if you're not feeling good one day, you can't go live. You can't do a story because you look like garbage and you don't feel like doing it. And like, it's not for me sustainable. If that's how you have to do business, organic social reach is not for me. It's why a lot of the people that I know have turned to ads, because you just make one thing, you throw money at it and everybody sees it.
Yeah, which is a great point, right? But again, to that point, especially on TikTok, right? I mean, maybe this has changed in the last year or so, but like my understanding is that people on TikTok aren't very receptive to ads, right? It needs to look real. It needs to look like a real thing. But then like as soon as you figure out it's an ad, you're going to be annoyed that you were fooled or you attempted to be hoodwinked or whatever. But I like this, right? Because something that's been on my mind a lot lately, we're both parents. I don't know if that was public knowledge on your son.
It is. I don't show their pictures, but people know that I
know.
Them.
My kids face it, like, as we record this, it's my son's birthday, and like I have like 14 pictures of him on Instagram, just like, happy birthday, son. He's like 3. I'm like, is this the right decision? I don't know. So we're both parents. And the Instagram game, right? Or the Twitter, like the text-based ones are a little bit easier because like I can just kind of like fire off a random thought from my phone. But even that doesn't really work on Twitter. Or if you like say the word threads now on Twitter, you're going to get like deprioritized apparently. But like Instagram especially, like you got to go live or do a reel every day. I'm like, man, this is not friendly to parents, right? Especially like, I don't know about you. Your kids might be a little older than mine. Mine are all under 7. When school starts, I'm sick like weekly, right? They just bring home all of the diseases right at the beginning of the year. And so I'm like, when am I supposed to? I have to be clairvoyant enough in August to be like, well, I better make all of September's content. And then, like you said, when am I going to do real work then, right? Like, so I love this. Now, we haven't said this explicitly, but your implication is that you don't need to be that content heavy on LinkedIn. Is that accurate?
No. And they just had an algorithm update. So,
okay.
Which is cute. Again, the dorky older sister also has an algorithm.
Guys, I watch movies, guys. I'm cool.
Yeah, we like videos here too. We just like them to be the regular size of videos. Forget that sideways nonsense. But everything is just so buttoned up. But their algorithm has a thing that if you are someone who comes from the Twitter and the Instagram world of building relationships, might come as a breath of fresh air. Because if you post on your LinkedIn profile more than once a day, you are competing with yourself, according to their algorithm. Which means that you can post consistently weekly, or 3 times a week, or 5 times a week. One of the apps I use says that you get the most engagement on Sundays, but like, so what?
Right.
I'm not like, so you can do, you can post more, but you should not post more than once a day. And since I have had such a hard time gaining traction on Instagram, I don't mean to brag, but over the last, I don't know, however many years it's been, I almost have 1,000 followers on Instagram. Like, woo, and literally 8 people have ever DM'd me. And it's mostly people I know who are we're meeting up, and we don't have each other's phone numbers.
Yeah. So, it feels like high school friends on Instagram to me. Right. Yeah.
Or like, good job. Like, somebody who challenged me to go live every day in May would check in with me every time I went live. Good job. Proud of you today.
Nice.
Everybody needs those friends. But the truth is, posting for what I teach, posting, I call it content marketing because that's where I come from, but you use a very specific format for content marketing on LinkedIn, and it's the last pillar. Because LinkedIn, to me, is not primarily a social network. It's a sales enablement platform. And by that, I mean, its primary job is not to wish your coworker from 3 jobs ago happy birthday. Like you can do that on LinkedIn, and that's how or congratulations on your next promotion.
On your
we
work
should catch
anniversary.
Up. Yeah,
thank you.
You don't like that. That's fine. It's fun to keep up with people you used to work with, and LinkedIn does make that easy. But that's not its primary job, especially for entrepreneurs.
Gotcha. I love that. So you post more than once a day. You're competing with yourself. I noticed this just recently, right? This is friends. This is a lesson about social media, right? I meticulously plan most of my let's erase the word meticulously. I plan in some way, shape, or form most of my posts on Twitter and LinkedIn. And then one Saturday, while my children were setting fire to the house around me, I was browsing LinkedIn and I saw this carousel of a guy who was patently wrong. And I was like, I'm just going to see what happens if I say this guy is patently wrong. So I reposted his carousel, which, I mean, it basically said don't start a podcast because most podcasts fail. Instead, hire me to get you guest spots on podcasts. And I'm like, if most podcasts fail, why would I want that either? So what I posted was hey, he's right that podcasting is a lot of work. Here's why he's wrong about why being a guest is better or whatever. That post, which was, I think, a Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, blew up. Comments, thousands of views, lots of engagement, easily my best performing post of the last 30 days. And I just kind of fired it off from my phone without thinking about it. So I guess the long meandering question that maybe we'll edit out some of that interstitial part is if a post is doing well, right? Should I not post until it's like, because you said you're competing with yourself, right? So if I post it again on Sunday, right, is that post not going to do well, or is it going to deprioritize my previous post? Like, that's what I'm curious. I'm a little curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's one of those things that like, it's tough to tell, but you should always be creating content. You should always be planning it out and using the meat of what that was. So not the Saturday part, not the not the from your phone part, but the fact that you found somebody who took a stake in the ground and you disagreed with them. Mm-hmm. That could be the backbone of your content marketing strategy on LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
Or building more content around, what do people think podcasts are? And I was talking about this with somebody yesterday about how polls get a lot of engagement because everybody has an opinion. So then you can ask like, hey, did you think that podcasting is dying? Is it a dying art? Is it dead? Is it, why do should you not start one? Like, there's all kinds of, what would be a good reason not to start a podcast in 2023? Give people polls and options. And then because you're then getting a lot of attention on, luckily, because it wasn't planned, but something that's exactly aligned with what your service provider work is, then I think there's no downside to doubling down on that kind of content.
That makes sense, right? And this is, again, I'm going to reference Threads a couple times here because I'm going to say meta Threads, I guess, right? Because Threads is also like a thing on Twitter, which, like, man, expert level trolling by Meta here, like expert level. But you see all these posts on Meta's Threads right now. That's like, what's your favorite ice cream? What movies are we watching? Right. And that's all that feels like, kind of like engagement hacking, quote unquote. Right. Like, you're just asking.
Yeah, it feels like how to grow a Facebook group post. Yeah. Like from a couple years ago. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But like in this case, right, like polls, like if it's in my lane, right, and I'm trying to get opinions, first of all, that's helpful data to me, right? Mm-hmm. Like what's a reason not to start a pod? Because then I can make a blog, long form content that is, hey, here's why you should start a podcast, right? And then I can do like the inoculation effect that you learn in journalism, right? That's like, people are going to think this, so you want to guard against that before they can even say it, sort of thing. But then you're also getting a bunch of engagement. Plus, like with polls, you're putting people in a box, right? And if they want to go outside that box, they're going to have to comment, probably. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so the big takeaways from here: be on LinkedIn because you said it's mostly a sales platform. So we're going to get to that in a little bit, right? Like how you can sell. But first, right? I'm really excited. I just crossed over 4,000 followers on LinkedIn. I'm approaching 6,000 on Twitter. I just checked Instagram. I've got 1,058. Hot dog. It took me like 5 years to get over 1,000, I think. And I guess it took me 10 years if we're starting from when I started. But like, I remember starting to check my Instagram following like 5 years ago. How do I grow my LinkedIn following, right? If I want these businesses to see me so they understand me, how do I get more people following or connecting with me or whatever?
Yeah. So followers on Twitter matter. Followers on Instagram matter. Followers on LinkedIn are a vanity metric. Because it's not about who sees your content. Because content is the fourth and least important pillar. If sales enablement is the point, then conversations are the goal. And you don't need to have 6 million followers on LinkedIn to fill your calendar with sales conversations. The math, I mean, you're one person, right? Like, right. You don't need, and further, like, let's say, so one of my jobs when I first started on LinkedIn, was 2008. And I was in hospitality recruiting. So I had a ton of followers in the hospitality industry. That doesn't matter, right? Like followers do not matter because a director of food and beverage at a Four Seasons just will never, ever have any need for what I'm selling now.
Right.
And so like growing your followers should be the least of your concerns.
Interesting. Okay, so growing my followers, least of my concerns. You said your goal is to fill your calendar with calls. So what's the approach? I guess what's the approach, right? And I want to make sure that we don't like kind of move into the next section too quickly. But I guess how do I know who to talk to? How do I know who my LinkedIn audience is, right? 'Cause I guess I'm operating from the assumption that I'm not just looking at people's LinkedIn titles and then like sliding into their DMs, right? Or am I? Is that the approach?
Well, it depends. So,
Okay.
What I teach and I have a 30-day program, and what I teach is that the overarching strategy is to make new connections and see if there's a fit. The idea being that the 4,000 people you've already connected with are in your network. If they were going to buy from you, they would have by now. So deconstructing your favorite clients and going after more people like them using tools like Sales Navigator or even just the regular LinkedIn search and reaching out to them, growing your network intentionally. Because if you grow your network by 200 people and 85 of them want to work with you, it doesn't matter how many followers you have.
Right.
Most solopreneurs like us don't need 1,000 clients. In fact, cannot serve 1,000 clients.
Right.
So just like having conversations. So it's all about not being that guy on LinkedIn. So you can create new conversations, but you should not be the person who just reached out to me asking if I needed company-wide phone support. I was like, is this 1998? Like,
I'm sorry, what? Do you work for Cisco? Like, I don't...
Multi-line phones? Like...
Have you heard about this new thing called voice over IP? Like, yeah.
I was like, I didn't even know that was still a thing. Like, I have no need for that. So, and one of the cool things about LinkedIn is that there are, I think, 800 million users on the platform right now. So literally everybody has a profile on it, and hardly anybody is using it right. And so if you do a little bit strategically to not be that guy on LinkedIn, then you'll be really surprised at how well it'll work for you.
I like that. And we're going to get to that soon. But I do want to ask, right? Like, so you said like post once a day, get some engagement. What's the purpose of that? Are we like sussing out potential customers that way? Or is it just kind of like putting us on people's radars? So like, what's the purpose of posting on LinkedIn if your goal is not to grow your following?
Oh, to have a conversation.
Okay. So like
to take this outside. We're going to take this outside.
We're going to take I like that. Okay. So basically it's almost like finding those potentially qualified leads, right? I post about here's why a brand needs to have a podcast, right? And then somebody who runs a brand podcast is like, well, wait, how do I do that? Oh, all right. Well, let's start this conversation, right? Something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, cool. You did warn me that this part of the interview would be very short, and I have run out of questions to try to make it longer. And so let's move on to what I think the meat of this is, right? The climax of our story here, which is how do I convert people? I worded this as LinkedIn audience, right? But as we just discovered, this doesn't need to be our exact audience. It doesn't need to be our followers, at least. How do I convert people on LinkedIn to be customers or clients?
Yeah, so that's the most fun thing because, it goes against, because I come from 13 years of digital marketing. So it goes against literally everything I've ever learned, like build a following, create a blog, grab an audience, get your search traffic, and then you can talk to people. No, you need an offer and you need to get it in front of the right people. So if you think that people who have the word podcaster in their title might be a good fit for what you have. You do a search on that. You use some automation tools. You don't ever use the helpful, quote unquote, I realize this isn't video, too late, but quote unquote,
you could hear the quotes in your voice though.
Yeah. Canned content, like oh, thanks so much. Like LinkedIn has these like stupid things you can just click and make, like, I'd like to join your network. Well, guess what? They hear that a lot. So if you come at them with a different value driven, like, I don't want something from you, but I'm building something cool, and the LinkedIn algorithm said we should connect. I checked you out. It looks like you'd be cool. Like, it looks like looks like LinkedIn was right this time, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a way we can work together or something like that, where, and I think too, like, if you only listen to part of this, like, okay, LinkedIn, and then you look at your DMs and you think, well, I have to do it that way, obviously. I think you're going to miss the point, because it's more about remembering, yes, there are bots, but remembering that everybody that you talk to, and if you're wrong about this, it's okay, but understand that everybody that you talk to is a human. There is a real person on the other side of every single one of these conversations. And so if you wouldn't walk up to somebody at a networking happy hour and say, hello, would you like to buy from me? Then don't do that online. Like, don't do it on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Which, like, we've all seen those people before, right? We've been to big cities, or we've been to carnivals, or the place I experienced the worst was on our honeymoon in Rome. Like, people would just like throw water bottles in your face. Like, water. I'm like, no, I have water though. Water. I'm like, okay. Like, that's what you're doing, right? Like, you're like, hey, buy this from me, please.
Right.
It's desperate.
My sales mentor, Ian Altman, has an example of, somebody, like, he uses an example of a carpal tunnel surgeon. And he's at a dinner party, and he's like, hey, I don't usually have openings, but I have an opening next Tuesday. Do you want this surgery? And like, with that example, of course not. You don't even know, like, what problem a carpal tunnel surgery solves, let alone whether you have it or not. Right. So, remembering to take a human first approach, and you don't even have to have a sales and marketing background to be a real person. Just like you don't need to be an expert salesperson to go to a networking happy hour and talk to people, and learn about them and just see if you can help, then it makes LinkedIn so much easier, because then what it means is that you're using search and automation tools to help do real connection at scale. So, LinkedIn does not love automation tools. That's putting it mildly. But there are ways to use them. I wouldn't necessarily like start a company that relies on that. Right. But you can use their tools until you can't. But there's plenty of them out there that work within LinkedIn terms of services that you can use to help you automate what you would do naturally. Because a lot of people that I work with do not realize how much sales they need to be doing in order to sell their services. I think a lot of us get into entrepreneurship because we found a problem that we wanted to solve for ourselves, or we found a problem that we could help our people we already knew solve. And then you hit a point where your referrals run out, or you pivot, and you need a new way to reach people who don't already know you, don't already like you, don't already trust you. And it can be really hard. And when you don't use automation tools and you just use the LinkedIn search, you'll talk yourself out of it. I'll go to your profile and I'll say, well, Joe, he's probably fine. He probably doesn't need, you just make decisions for people, and you don't reach out. But the automation, as long as you've got the outreach, the initial message to connect right, the automation takes your brain and your hesitation out of it and allows that person to decide, allows you to decide if you want to connect with me.
I don't know if that breathy noise made it into the recording, but I just like exhaled because that exact thing, like I did a workshop. I paid $300 for this 3-day workshop, and it was really good. And it would have been great if I actually acted on it. But like day one was like, make a list of 100 people that you can reach out to. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, great. And now here's our tried and true DM script, right? And this is like somebody, I didn't just like buy this from some rando. This is like a person I know personally. I trusted him. And send this to those people. And I would open their LinkedIn profiles, and I have a text expander snippet, and I'm like, they probably don't need this. And I just chickened out. I'm like, my offer's not good enough. They don't, there's like a weird misalignment here. So like what you just said spoke exactly to my experience, and I'm sure you know lots of other people's experiences. So you've mentioned a couple of automation tools. Is there one that you recommend? I think you said it earlier.
Yeah, it's called Walaxy. I always hesitate to say the name of any tools because right now, as of this recording, the one that I like right now is called Walaxy. I have an affiliate link, and it's like not a great one for like it's not where I'm gonna make my private island money, but it will give people 2 months free to try it out.
Okay, cool.
So I can drop that in your show notes.
You know what I'll do? I'll put it in the show notes, which you can find over at howibuilt.it/329. And is it Walaxy like Galaxy with a W?
Yeah, it's like that, but another A. So WAALAXY.
Okay. WAALAXY. So I will also make a short link, howibuilt.it/Walaxy, that will go to Kathleen's affiliate link.
And like I said, if you don't get any value out of it in 2 months, don't worry about it. Just cancel it. Like, it's not expensive, especially compared to paid ads.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not like I think it's a great tool. It has been around for a couple of years, and I'm pretty sure LinkedIn knows about it. So it's one that I feel good about. But again, that's a shady area of software.
It's tough, right? I signed up for Hype Fury, right? And like the same day that I tried to do my first DM campaign, they were like, "Oh, Twitter's API is broken. We can't do DMs anymore." And I'm like, "It's not broken. I mean, now's a pretty tumultuous time for I think any Twitter-based tools, right?"
Yeah. Any tool, and then that we could have a whole nother conversation about. But like,
maybe let's talk about that in Pro, right? So I didn't ask you this in the pre-show, but we do a members only section. We'll talk about this topic in How I Built It Pro. You can sign up over at casabona.org. It's just $5. Well, starts at $5 a month, which is like less than a cup of coffee, less than the iced coffee I paid for the other day at Starbucks. So that's what we'll talk about in Pro if Kathleen will join us for that.
Yeah.
So Walaxy, and then you mentioned another one that I think had the word sales in it that I can't remember.
Oh, so LinkedIn. So this is an interesting. So LinkedIn, the way that I see it, LinkedIn exists to sell you on LinkedIn Premium. Mm-hmm. Don't ever upgrade to LinkedIn Premium. But
full disclosure, I have LinkedIn Premium because I am a LinkedIn Learning instructor and I get it for free. So if you see the little gold icon next to me, I'm not paying for it. I get it for free as an instructor.
It allows you to send in-mail, which no one in the history of being on LinkedIn has gotten an in-mail that they liked.
This is 100% accurate.
So it gives you, again, if you care about vanity metrics, it'll tell you which 800 people looked at your profile this week. Well, I can tell you which ones did. It's the people who you reached out to using the automation. So I believe that LinkedIn Free exists to sell LinkedIn Premium, and LinkedIn Premium exists to sell you on Navigator. Skip Premium altogether. Navigator's like $99 a month. It's a LinkedIn tool, and it allows you to do really, really targeted searches. And it allows you to save them and import them into the tool of your choice. And so it's a really, I go back and forth. Like, you can buy it for a year, but I never do, because you can use it to set yourself up in the automation and then turn it off, because you've got, you can save 2,500 leads. And it's a neat way to, if you don't know, let's say that you, Joe, don't know whether individual podcast hosts or companies that should be podcasting are better fits for you. You could set up 2 different campaigns with 2 different searches. Are you
a mind reader? I'm going to interrupt you right here and just literally earlier today I was talking to somebody about this. So I don't know if you have my phone tapped or what, but this is the exact problem I'm trying to solve right now. Continue. You can create 2 different campaigns is what you just said, right?
So you do these 2 different searches, and that's, so again, I'm a marketer, and so from a marketing perspective, the who you serve is a sleepless night question. Who is your target audience? Should be an easy. It's an easy question with a tough answer, because then you have to say, well, I only do digital marketing for dentists, and then you got to have a tooth in your logo, and you got to have you got to change your website so that it's mint green with teeth on it, a whole thing. Yeah. You have to change everything from a marketing perspective. But if you take an outreach approach, you just let the results of your outreach determine your niche. So if 6 companies come back to you and say, hey, you're right, we do need to have a podcast arm, then it's okay, well, now this is what I do. I work with companies who pay quickly and never follow through. Instead, or because it's different, or I work with entrepreneurs who pay slowly but do all the work that I ask them to do. And it doesn't mean you have to do any of your marketing differently until you actually know who you like working with the best, who pays you fastest, who is easiest to work with. And I think that the 2 things that sort of sealed the deal for me on LinkedIn were the content schedule was significantly more doable. And then also, maybe I'll just reach out to authors or graphic designers or, because creators who I work with, individual solopreneurs, that's a pretty broad category. So maybe I want to talk to people who also speak digital marketing, because then they can set up their funnels easier, and doing those different searches is really interesting, because you can see what percentage of people even respond to you, how they're responding. You get into an industry where they just tell you to go kick rocks and you're like, hey, not that,
Yeah. Oh, that's so smart. So for $99 a month, maybe $99 every couple of months when you need it,
right?
You can run these not quite A/B tests, but it's almost like market research. Direct outreach market research. I like that. So I will link to Navigator in the show notes as well. I'm going to guess that the find. Oh, sorry, your plan cannot change right now. Oh. This is really good podcast content, me clicking around on a website. Okay, so this is great, because this is the other thing that I'm doing very soon, right? And this is I guess a case study in LinkedIn direct outreach, right? Because my friend Jordan Eaton, she commented on one of my posts and then reached out and asked me how I was delegating. It was about automation delegation. Asked me how I was delegating. She has essentially a virtual assistance company for higher level virtual assistants, right? So you've got the lower level ones that do some of the grunt work, and then you've got the virtual office managers that are basically replace you at the head of the business, and then her people sit right in the middle there. And this was several months ago, but we've stayed connected. We did a webinar together, and I'm going to hire her agency to do some virtual assistant stuff for 20 hours a month. And so first of all, LinkedIn totally worked for her there, right? We got connected. It's going to work for me too. She has a service. She's filling a need that I have. But the main thing I'm going to have her people do for me is outreach to potential clients. and I need to answer the question, who am I serving? Who do I want them to spend their 20 hours a month reaching out to? And it feels like maybe Sales Navigator, right? In the grand scheme of things, I pay $100 this month to help me use the 20 hours more efficiently would be a big help to both me and her team, right? Because they want to deliver good results as well.
Right. And so for podcasting too, the reason that people don't do it is because it's a lot of work. Not because, I mean, literally everybody has something to say for a podcast, but the reason that people aren't doing it is because it's too much work. And so how many people does a company need to have so that they can afford to use one or half of one or 25% of one person's hours on podcast production? So you can filter down by that. If you only wanted to work with local companies, you could filter in your specific geographic area. As you can do with the value add, where it's like, look, I'll just come over and we'll get it all set up,
Right.
Anywhere like from 2 hours from your house, and then you can upsell, Joe getting out of the house time to people who would happily pay for it.
Yeah.
It's a tool that's really helpful. And if anybody listening to this is like intrigued by LinkedIn and wants to learn more, I have a program for it. I have a video that just walks people through how exactly my process for how I use LinkedIn to get 8 to 17 qualified sales conversations on my calendar every week. We can link to that. It's at thewellpaidexpert.com/level-up.
/wellpaidexpert,
thewellpaidexpert.com/level-up.
All right, /level-up. I'm going to link to that. Is it all one word? I will link to that in the show notes as well. As we conclude our time here, I'm really excited about this because I feel like I've been all over the place. Let me tell you how my day has gone today. I wasted 2 hours this morning just bouncing around social networks, realizing that my top performing post on Twitter was a comment on Jay Acunzo's thread about parenting. And then my second most popular one so far is me saying, yo, I can't wait for the Yankees to have a City Connect jersey. And that's not going to get me clients, right? As people know, I love the Yankee. Kathleen knows more than most people because I talked a bunch of people's ear off about baseball in Boise. But I'm really excited about this. If people are just getting started on LinkedIn, perhaps they've been convinced. What are the first 1 to 2 steps they should take to start getting qualified leads on LinkedIn?
Take a look at your profile. See if it would make you want to work with you.
I'm going to let that sit out there for a minute.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, especially because it's like your about me sections. It's like, where do you start? Birth? College?
Right, yeah.
I
remember.
Where are you?
Yeah.
But it's never about you. It's how you can help your people. And if you realize that in this approach, your profile is now a sales page, it's easier to rewrite with that in mind. People aren't going to look at it hard. They're going to skim it. They're going to look, they're going to look for reasons not to work with you. So for you, it's Yankees, right? But but here in Arizona, there's a huge feud. My brother-in-law said he would have never, ever hooked up with my sister-in-law if she had gone to the wrong Arizona college. The ASU U of A conflict. So they're looking for I don't know. I went to the that kind of thing.
Right.
So just rewrite your about page like it's a sales page. Make sure your headline's right, and make sure your profile picture is not from your brother's wedding where the last time you were dressed up and you had to cut the groom out of the picture so that you actually
it shouldn't be like you and someone's shoulder, right?
Right. You don't want that. It should be a headshot, and you can make one pretty easily with your phone or AI, or the combination.
Right. Yeah. I shout out to Sarah Vada. She lived on my block for a while. She did not drive an IROC, right? I just thought of the Teenage Dirtbag song. But she's a professional photographer. And so I was like, can you come to my office, like down the street, and just take pictures? And she's like, yes. So I got a professional photographer in my office, which is very exciting. Yeah. But yeah, professional headshots for sure. Like put your phone on a tripod. Get decent lighting. Like don't do it in your office, like by the cold blue glow of your computer screen. And you're like better than most people, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the banner, right? Because like, you know, you look at like the guy that everybody immediately associates with LinkedIn is Justin Welch. And like most people, I think, model their banner off of his. Is that a good banner to model your banner off of?
If you sell to people, the same people he sells to, sure.
Yeah, I guess so, right? But like, I mean, so I guess like, should we include more information there? Like I've got like trust logos in there now.
It should just be consistent with your branding. I think it should look good. It shouldn't look like your 3-year-old did it.
Right. Yeah.
but it should just be consistent with branding. You can just take a picture from a branding session, put your logo on it. And so it can, like, I think mine's like my feet with my logo, or my legs, like knees or something with my logo, not feet.
Tastefully done.
No, but there's Canva presets for LinkedIn headers, and just spend 15 minutes on it. Don't make 18 different versions. It's not that big of a deal, but it does matter.
Yeah. Thrilling update. It is your hands folded.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it was like, it's not like I didn't do my head on my head. I just some, like, you take something from your branding photos, and if you don't have branding photos, then find a stock image that represents what you do.
Yeah. Unsplash is probably a good place for most people to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm also noticing here, right? This, and you know, it's funny, right? Because I just did this for this podcast. All of my podcasts, but you have Kathleen O'Malley Celmins - the well-paid expert. Mm-hmm. So how important the well-paid expert is like, you know, your brand, like your company, your brand sort of thing, right? How important is it to have something like that in your LinkedIn name?
It depends on, like, so if you don't have a very, like, a brand like that one, but it might be better to put some description of what you do. Mm-hmm. I get people to respond because they're like, "Ooh, well-paid expert."
Ooh, I want to be a well-paid expert. Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, come on, join me. It's fun over here.
I can help you." Yeah.
But like I've seen it where it's the, like, your 2-word tagline, you know.
Okay.
You can put it in your name. I think it helps a little bit. I don't have good data on it other than just the gut instinct data that I feel like more people responded when I changed that. Yeah,
right. And it makes sense, right? Because it shows up quickly, right? Just like, again, if you look at this in Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, you'll see that this is how I built it - case studies and coaching for creators and solopreneurs. That makes the show rank number 1 for coaching for creators, by the way.
Perfect.
And then the artist is Joe Casabona, podcast automations coach, right? So again, if people are like, oh, wait, what does Joe do? He doesn't just talk to people, like he does this. I think that's helpful. So I should definitely update this. I'm ruminating as we record, like changing it to the podcast systems guy, because automations has like a bunch of different baggage. Is it like email automations or what? But that's maybe something else we can hash out in the pro show. But if you want to get started today, number 1, look at your LinkedIn profile and say, would I hire this person? Right?
Or even not just that, not even that far, but like, what does this person do?
Ooh, I like that.
How does this person help me? Who do they, you know, like, can I describe, and not using like somebody in a different generation, like can your grandma describe it? No.
Right.
But, can someone, like, if you're looking at yours, and it's tough, it is so tough to step back from yours.
Yeah,
but like,
because like you know what you do, right?
yeah.
But like, would I hire this person is a very subjective question, right? Like you can't go to your husband or wife or friend or whatever and be like, hey, look at my LinkedIn profile. Would you hire me? Like, well, I know you, so yeah, I would hire you. But like, looked at my LinkedIn profile. Based on this, tell me what I do, right?
Right.
They can, well, I know you're a podcast, but does it say I'm a podcast coach anywhere, right? Yeah. That can definitely be, and again, you don't want to go to your grandma or my parents or whatever.
Right. Find a colleague and swap.
Yes.
Do it for someone else and have somebody else do it for you. I actually just talked to somebody yesterday who in my 30-day program, I'm going to bring her on because she does rewrites in a done for you way where she interviews you, then she rewrites your about page and delivers it to you. And I realized that like that's a lot. It's a big sticking point for the people that come into my programs, and so that's going to be so fun. Like we're going to get that knocked out of the park like day one. That's all. You know what I'm going to do here? Because I want more review. I'm like on the precipice of I think 100 reviews or something like that on Apple Podcasts. The first 5 people who leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send me a screenshot, I will send your LinkedIn profile along with it, and I will try to tell you what you do based on that. So there you go. We'll see. Maybe that'll get me 5 reviews. Fingers crossed. Kathleen Celmins, the well-paid expert. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today. Where can people find you? Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. The wellpaidexpert.com is the place to go for everything. I'm also the only Kathleen Celmins on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do so. Nice. And people are seeing your name somewhere in their podcast player, but it is Celmins, Celmins. People will want to say, I want to say Clemens. It's not even close to that now that I'm spelling it out loud, but I don't think I'm the only person to make that mistake, though. No, and I married into it, so yeah. I see on LinkedIn it's Kathleen O'Malley. Are you Irish by chance? Yeah, and it's funny because I can tell you this, that then people in my real life were like, what? But the reason that I changed my name was because the Kathleen O'Malleys of the United States are a pretty like distinguished lot. Like, we just retired from the 9th Circuit Supreme Court as a justice. We are a blue ribbon baker in Wisconsin. Like, I was like, there's no way I'm going to rank on page 1 if I keep my name. That's like, I'm grateful there's only one. Well, there's actually 2 Joe Casabonas. One owns like an oil company or something like that, and apparently has been giving my Gmail address to people. So, Joe, if you're listening, man, stop telling people to send me like trade secrets to my Gmail account. Right? But the wellpaidexpert.com, Kathleen Celmins on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you all for listening. If you want to hear Kathleen and I talk about, Kathleen and me, if I'm being grammatically correct, if you want to hear Kathleen and me talk about creating tools for social media and maybe ruminating on my new title, you can become a member over at casabona.org/join for just $5 a month. You can also find all of the show notes, everything we talked about over at howibuilt.it/329. So if you remember one URL, it is howibuilt.it/329. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, get out there and build something.